For example, I'll use myself again, okay? Out of shape. And I don't know, let's say I want to start that strenuous exercise, okay? Like I could do that. But let's say I'm going to do that. I'm going to head to the gym and I'm going to have just 2 hours of pure physical exercise. It's probably going to be too much of a strain on my heart because I haven't trained my heart to work at that level.
So that's why you have to, when you start exercising stuff, you have to feel up to that point. You can't just go into
You can't just go in and start it. But people, you know, a lot of times they have this idea, I could just go in and I can just do this. It's not that easy, okay? It really is training. Look what happens. And Kaz, this is probably what we're feeling if it gets up to that 180. Because we're not allowing for the heart to adequately fill with blood.
So it's like awesome. You feel that pain in your chest.
If you're like having that really high heart rate, it could actually be a couple of things. It could be that sympathetic system, something going wrong, but it could also be something going wrong in the heart itself. With the electrical conductivity, maybe it's something going wrong with the SA node, maybe it's something going wrong with the AV node, maybe there's something that's gone wrong with the bundle of His. And a lot of times, that becomes dangerous. It becomes dangerous to have that high heart rate. If we don't get adequate filling, the stroke volume, the amount that's getting pumped out, and the output, what's got to go to the body, okay? Note, heart rate high, you would think lots of blood, lots of fluid going to other parts of the body, but look what happens. It's actually less. So that means you're affecting the output to the tissues of the body, to the rest of the body. Well, hopefully, if the sympathetic system kicks in, the job of the parasympathetic, slow it down. Say, hey, whoa, we can't have this. Look at what the parasympathetic works by. Our vagus nerve. That vagus nerve hits every organ. It is so cool. Now, hopefully, it will say, hey, whoa, we got to slow this down. It has its effects on the nodes. Doesn't have an effect on the actual cardiac cells themselves, but on the nodes. The pacemaker. And then the AV node, which will go to the bundle of His. Do you guys remember that one? Hopefully, if it does its job, the heart rate slows down and everything kind of returns back to normal. If the systems of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, if they didn't have an effect on the heart, the intrinsic rate of the heart is roughly 100 beats per minute, which is a little too fast for at rest. So by having the influence of the nervous fibers, we keep that heart rate at roughly those 60 to 70 beats per minute. So it doesn't control it, but it affects it. It's allowing for something called the tone, the vagal tone, and keeping us at the heart rate roughly 60 to 70 beats per minute. Some people might be a little higher, some people might be a little less. When we begin to look at that cardiac center in the medulla, it's very influenced. What does it mean to be influenced? Huh? What? Okay. How many of y'all are influenced? There you go. We're all influenced. So, being very influenced. I don't understand. Oh, that is hilarious. Should I go to Hollywood?
I'll give you the 23, but I'm not Hollywood.
Where? Where should I go?
You should stay here. I'll give you the age of 23, but I'm not giving you the Hollywood.
Keep your day job.
You go to Hollywood.
That's what we said.
All right. Higher order brain thinking. You got to get up in front of a class. And you've got to do a presentation. What happened? Butterflies. Nervous. Hands might sweat. Might sweat. Might sweat. Okay? Heart rate. How about the crying and the laughing I just did? Makes your heart beat faster. Those are higher order brain functions. They're not coming from the primitive portion of your brain. But it will affect that system, that autonomic nervous system. And that's going to affect the heart rate. How about muscles, joints, arteries, brainstem? Walking along. How many of y'all trip over your own 2 feet? How many of y'all fall upstairs? Okay, so I'm good at all of that, you know. So you trip or you fall upstairs, what immediately kind of happens to that heartbeat? Kind of increases a little bit. Because, do you guys remember the proprioceptors? Our place in space. They're going to affect that heart rate. So for a few minutes, you get that little bit of an effect from all of that takes place. You guys remember baroreceptors? Why? Stretch. Heart. When I say it's under extreme pressure, it's under extreme pressure. When that heart beats, pushes that blood out of that aorta, and then it has to begin its descent. First, we're going to have it flow. We're going to have the arteries that lead upward. Then we're going to have the descending aorta and all of the branching that occurs. Okay? Baroreceptors, do you happen to remember where they're located? We've got them in the aorta and into these arteries branching off. Okay? Why is it good to be able to detect these pressures or these stretches? It compensates for pressure being too high or too low. The body can do that, okay? It does it 24/7, 365, 366 if it's a leap year. The reason for that, we're not a static individual. It's not just like this all the time. We're fluid, okay? Being able to detect these pressures, okay? If pressure goes up or goes too low, those baroreceptors can send a signal to that cardiac center in the medulla oblongata. And from there, it can say, increase the heart rate, decrease the heart rate. Maintain the norm. What is supposed to be maintaining our homeostasis. Now, the chemoreceptors, chemicals, they are checking for the pH of the blood and gases in the blood. Once again, in that aortic arch, the carotid arteries that lead up to the brain, and in the medulla oblongata, the vessels of the medulla. These definitely come to play in the respiratory system. They check for the pH, the gas levels. Wait a minute, I'm talking about the heart right now. What's our respiratory system got to do with anything? Any other ideas? Tables 3, 4, 2. Gas? It carries the gases. And where are these receptors located? They're located in the vessels. So if they're located in the vessels, they're picking up on this. My heart rate, then my respiration rate are related. If the chemicals, this pH or the gases, for example, if the chemoreceptors pick up that there's not enough oxygen in the blood that's been checked by these receptors, what is that going to do to my respiration rate? And if it's going to increase my respiration rate, what do you think is going to happen to my heart rate? Because if I don't have enough oxygen, I'm not getting enough to the tissues. If I'm not getting enough to the tissues, I need to get more oxygen, so I need to breathe more. If I need to breathe more, I need to send more oxygen to the tissues, so therefore my heart rate's going to increase. Does that make sense? The control negative feedback. because that is mostly the way that the body maintains homeostasis. Some of the chemicals that we can be exposed to will affect our heart rate. For example, the norepinephrine, acetylcholine, they'll affect it. Something that could be blood-borne is going to affect our heart rate. Some of it comes from the body. Other things we're putting into the body that will affect the heart rate. For example, nicotine. Man, that was just such, an experience. So they sit down, smoke their cigarette, and what do they think they're doing to themselves? They think they're calming down. The motion might calm them down, but the actual smoking of a cigarette increases their heart rate. Yep. And you're putting all those chemicals in. Yeah. Thyroid hormone will affect us. Now, this one, sorry, gotta have my caffeine, So yeah, it will affect our heart rate. Now, have you ever known people who drink so much caffeine, drink so much coffee or tea or soda or whatever the case might be, that they can't even walk up a flight of stairs? Okay? Had a professor when I was in college. The man never went without having a cup of coffee in his hands. He drank more coffee than anybody had ever seen in my life. And wondered why he couldn't climb a flight of stairs. Because he got so winded. Because his heart was always beating so fast. I'm like, and you're the genetics professor? Okay. Kept my mouth shut. Because, hey, I was in college. I need to pass class. Okay? So, but caffeine, gotta love it. Electrolytes. These become very important because our electrolytes, our salts, okay? And don't forget, sodium, potassium, calcium, okay? For the heart, potassium. Ever heard of people who might have to take a potassium pill? Okay, because potassium has a major effect on the beating of the heart. You can have hypo or hyper, too much, too little. If it's hyper, having too much potassium, look what happens. Those cardiocytes, the actual cardiac cells, they're less excitable, meaning their ability to contract. That means the heart rate slows down and it becomes irregular. If too much potassium is in the body, it can actually cause the heart to stop. Yes, it actually becomes an issue in emergency situations. Okay? And doctors have to make a decision. They can't get, if the heart rate's really bad, they can't, get the blood work back quick enough. They have to make a decision to do this and possibly kill the person. I mean, it's really a difficult situation. If there's not enough, the cells are overactive. And then the stimulation, meaning it needs a stronger impulse to keep those cardiac cells working. So the potassium becomes a very major factor in the beating of the heart. The calcium, once again, extremely important to many areas of the body. Once again, hyper, hypo. If we have too much, it decreases the heart rate, but look at what else it does. The strength of the contraction is affected. So that means the actual pumping of the heart. If there's not enough calcium, the heart rate increases and the actual pump gets stronger. It seems backwards to me. Okay? I don't know if it does to anyone else, but hey, that's how I keep it straight in my head. Okay? Because if you think not enough, you would think it wouldn't be strong enough. And so that's how I kind of keep it straight in my mind. Now this idea of the stroke volume, when we have that cardiac output, the heart rate, our stroke volume. Stroke volume gets affected by something called preload. What? Contractility. Huh? Afterload. What? Anybody else saying that? Yeah. Okay. Now look at our little examples down here. Increased preload or contractility increases stroke volume. What? Increased afterload decreases stroke volume. What? I have no clue. Ooh, I want to answer it. I want to answer it. Or was that like a notification? Sounded like the little football, the little ESPN. Did my Redskins win?
Yeah.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal.